So, what is the meaning of life? What a great question. I'm glad you asked. I think the meaning of life is to experience as much as you can. I think that a lot of people have come to this conclusion lately, and will probably be glad to hear me say that and not some other thing like, I'll find love or find your purpose or some generic shit. You should be going through as many experiences as you can probably, afford to, basically. Whether they're good decisions or bad decisions, they're going to be some sort of experience. Hopefully, you're going to make mostly good decisions. This is also something I believe in. You should actively try to make good choices so that good experiences will follow, but you should be experiencing many things. And I'm unqualified to speak about this, and I'll go ahead and put the disclaimer out here now. I really haven't experienced a whole lot of anything. I basically stopped having friends from like sophomore year in college to current, to present. If that's on my resume, like, who's your friends? Like, pretty much nobody. A couple acquaintances, some people who tried to stick around for a couple years. And I don't know. Like, I'm just so incompatible, I feel, with people, or I was, and want to not be. But I was so, like, incompatible sociably with, like, the world. So I just stayed alone. And, so I think that your friends can be some of the strongest things that you have to show for your life, because for good reason. Who you're around is kind of a reflection of who you are. So if you're only around yourself, is that a good or a bad thing? Well, if nobody knows who you are, they can't really make a judgment about it, right? Is this a good or bad person? Well, nobody knows them, so must not be. That's pretty much that's the safe conclusion. That's the how you not get stabbed on the street. Well, maybe this guy is just wearing this trench coat and is really weird, because nobody gave him a chance. And I'm going to be the one. Maybe not do that. But good thing the only thing you have to do is maybe watch this video to think about if I'm right or not or whatever. But anyway, so I'm not qualified to speak about it. I remember when I graduated college. I'm just going to embarrass myself this video. That sounds fun. I never got my license until like I was like 22. Okay, I went to college out of state, and I failed the test like the 2 weeks before I was supposed to like go to college, but I didn't have time because I lived overseas in Germany. So I came home, had to take the test. My dad was dying of cancer. I just took the test, failed the test, and went to college. And like throughout all of the times when I came back, I was also so like afraid of like going around people that I like stopped even coming home as much. I would kind of limit the exposure window from when I would come home and spend time, when school was out of session or whatever. This is what I did. I can't really excuse it, but like I could have rectified this earlier, and that would have maybe opened up some doors for me. Or really, that's not what you need to have to open doors. But I'm just saying these are like the excuses that I use to limit myself. I was like, well, I can't drive anywhere, so I'll walk to a local grocery store and carry back some stuff in the backpack, and that's how I got my groceries. You know what I mean? Because I had to eat cheap. Like I just took so many like little like he's becoming weird. He's becoming fucking weird. Somebody stop him, and nobody could have stopped me. You know what I mean? Because it was my choices. These were my choices. Nobody could have done anything to change them, I suppose, right? Other than me. And this is important. I am responsible for what you see now. Anyway. But when you spend a lot of time alone, you are going to have to figure out who you are, sort of. Who you currently are, at least. Maybe not who you're meant to be, but you're going to figure out something in probably pretty quick fashion. What's your sense of humor? How do you deal with being in a room alone? What are the activities you get up to? Do you read books? Do you game? Do you write? Do you start hustling online and selling something and making a little side income business? Like, there's a lot of things that you could be that maybe you're not every single day of your life. But these are sort of important things to find out about yourself, because if you want to do something, anything in life, you have to first know that you're capable of it. And I do believe that people are capable of like anything, but we do have our strengths. And I do think it's important to try and figure them out, because that way, instead of trying to develop something that's extremely hard for you to cultivate within yourself, and this is the thing that some people really, spend their whole life wasting time about, is the idea that like they are an athlete and therefore they should have had an athlete's life, but they didn't. And therefore life is not worth like pursuing anything more of. Or, you could pursue anything. I could have been an engineer, but because, I quit that degree and I could have got my engineering degree and I could still be working engineering today and solving problems in a very low stress way. Like it'd be much more into the technical side of things and not more into the people side of things. Well, I was never good at the people side of things, and that's kind of what my life kind of started being more like, is I had to, be an officer in the military, and, just being this person, I think kind of made me struggle inherently in that role. I feel like I was maybe more cut out to be an analyst or something. But anyway, I wasn't, I wasn't really that. I just did whatever. You don't always choose every single path, especially when you give some sort of agency to a big organization like the military or the government. If you give so much of your life agency away to other people, to a girlfriend or a boyfriend, a job, a location, a continent, I don't know, like whatever it is that you're saying, I'm going to limit the sum of my choices to something that allows this to coexist. That could be a problematic thing sometimes, and I know that's maybe a little uncomfortable to hear, that maybe there's something that you have to give up. For me, recently, we'll just keep embarrassing myself. I recently started doing drugs. Woohoo! No, I mean, I kind of discovered, and I don't think anybody's going to go watch some of the old audio logs. I really feel like these are some of my better content. In a way, but it just doesn't, it's not good content really. So, and so neither is this. So, therefore we have to just keep saying things until somebody sticks around long enough to hear it. But I'm a reformed drug addict, more or less. I used to take DXM because it's the first thing I ever experienced in a time when I could never have experienced anything else, because like ethically, I would never have done drugs under contract, under some sort of, this started in high school, right? They started making you sign like, I lived in Germany, and this is kind of a funny little side note. In Germany, that you can drink at 16, and there was many, half American, half German families, and their children would be basically wanting to drink at 16 and play football at the American school. And you can't do it. You're not supposed to do it. Okay, this is where you have to start being the corporate slave, right? They break you in young. No, I'm just kidding. This is important though. I do think that there's a reason why we're not supposed to, as a kid, be on some of these substances. Anyway, for one, like kids really shouldn't be on certain substances, and maybe some substances we shouldn't be on at all. It really depends on you personally, how you tolerate that, how you react to it, and you will have to probably experience it to even know. And that's something I never did. So once I did happen to get really sick one day and try a bunch of DXM, not thinking I was going to get high, but thinking I was going to get less sick. I'm kind of stupid. It's honestly really dumb. And that's kind of why it makes it embarrassing. But anyway, I started doing this sometimes for this experience because it was not THC. Couldn't have done it technically at the last job I had. But, they wouldn't have tested for it either because it's a civilian world. It's a little different. But I still was like, under contract, I'm not supposed to do this. Whatever. Like this is against the terms of conditions of me being here, so I wouldn't do it. And I feel like I've always applied that. If I drink a beer, you won't catch me driving, even if it's one beer. Like I've always been super. I don't know what you want, whatever you want to call that, right? I'm just very cautious about trying to do the right thing, because I do think that's important to be a good human being. You got to navigate there as doing the right thing the whole time. As best you can. Okay, we're going to fail. You are going to fail at that too. But take it and move on. Again, once it's over, you can still learn and grow and be better. And I think that is the key to a happy life. Not necessarily winning every day, but trying to win and winning a lot. But if you do lose, be gracious, be humble, learn, and move on. Do not dwell as much, other than what is strictly necessary to dwell. Don't dwell. You know what I mean? I'm making these videos where it maybe seem like I'm dwelling on these things. This is really therapeutic for me, and that's why I started doing it in the first place, why I'll continue to do it, is like I have so many ideas that I want to express, and I never did. I have no friends. Remember this, no matter what you think about me as I'm talking. No matter, he seems like he might, I don't know what you think. You probably fucking do. Like, oh, yep, makes sense. But the point is, I still am this way. And I never shared any ideas I ever had, pretty much, right? I very much wouldn't even engage in like the internet drama and whatever. Like, I just knew it wasn't good for me to do that as a substitute for having friends. So like, I would just try and find entertainment in whatever I could. Mostly games and shows and TV and anime and manga, whatever fucking nerdy bullshit I could find that I could read and consume. And, you know, there's some really great ideas. I really do feel like a lot of why I even think this way is because I pursued some of those ideas. You know, not that these are great things really necessarily, but I mean, well, I don't know. I am who I am because of it, and you know, I feel okay with it. At the end of the day, but you know, I'm about as far removed as like from normal as you can be, but I still feel that the answer to things now, when I'm at the bottom of this barrel, more or less, is that I need to get out and I need to go live and experience, because that is the point. I really feel like I'm recently, I suppose, a believer in God or some higher power, through my, I suppose, drug experimentation. You know, shout out, you know, whatever. I'm just kidding. It's kind of ironic, is all, because I used to be like very stout. Like, I don't think it really makes sense that that there's someone in charge of this whole circus. You know, it feels like this circus is too fucked up for anybody to feel like, for any cosmic entity that I can't understand. You know, clearly they would have intentions that I could understand, right? You know, that was what I used to think, right? I think it's way more complicated than that, and that my goal here is not necessarily to understand everything in the universe. You know, maybe I used to try, and I think maybe that's what, you know, atheists or agnostics kind of do, is like they're really obsessed with understanding things, and maybe some of these things aren't meant for us to understand. You can't do it. Your body is like a bunch of electrical signals and crazy mush. Like, how the fuck does it work? How does it work? Well, I guess now I'm kind of believing that maybe God made it, and that makes more sense to me now than it ever did. And so to that crowd, sorry, man. You know, it really is an unwinnable argument. That's what I also used to. I was fascinated. Like, when is the believer gonna crack? And I'm not saying that they never have, but like, when are they gonna crack under the fucking arguments that are being made? You know, like, when are they finally gonna see through the bullshit? Like, and they're gonna fucking, you know what? Renounce him right on the spot. No more is Jesus my savior. No, like, they believe it. You know, that's the difference. Belief is super, super powerful and super important. And that's all I'm gonna say about it. Like, there's nothing you can do to convince me anymore that that this isn't, you know, basically meaningless. You know, because that's, and in a way, that's kind of like what makes being agnostic or atheist somewhat relieving. Like, it doesn't matter, and therefore I'll do whatever the fuck I want. And that's actually just a good way to live. Like, I watched some random video today. It must not have been a very old video, but there's apparently like influencer children now, okay? And you know what they say about the wisdom coming from the mouth of babes if you've watched fucking Master of Disguise lately. It's sometimes children can speak the truth. And I think Theo Vaughn was asking this little girl, you know, what's one thing positive that you could say to all the people? And is that you're going to die one day. That's what the little girl said. It was like, what the fuck does she mean? We're all going to die. How is that positive? Well, I suppose it's that's the truth. You are going to die. And you got to do everything to squeeze every little bit of life out of your little heart and brain. Because once they're done beaten, we don't know what's technically next. Even though I believe in that we're all basically going to be reunified, essentially. I don't know what it means, obviously, but I think that that's essentially what happens, is a reunion will occur. And it'll be great. But aside from that, I don't know. Like, I don't want to rush to get there. I do think that being here is an important part of my existence as whatever the fuck we are at the end of the day. You know, we call ourselves human now, and who knows, right? This video is kind of going away. I didn't expect it to go now. All right, I accidentally stopped the recording because I was like so stun locked on what the hell I was supposed to say, but this is about the meaning of life, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the video now. Again, life is about accumulating as many experiences as you can, because you have to reflect yourself in many surfaces to understand who you're looking at. You have to see how you're going to change shape and look in all these different scenarios. And I'm not saying to live recklessly. I definitely am not the picture of that. I'm very calculated in my living. And I think you need to have at least a little bit of that. You know, don't get me wrong. But I do think that you have to pursue your passion some way. Finding your passion is super important. It sounds so fucking lame. But at least, I don't know. I guess that's why these guys always end up saying it. But it is important. Like, you have to find what you're passionate about. And if you can somehow make your passion about just living, well, that would be a pretty cool little win-win right out the gate. So just try and find it for yourself. You know, for me, it's going to look a whole lot of ways because I just want to do so many things, and then I'll find what works for me and I'll keep going. But before to these late days, I would never have pursued anything other than the safe, ever, 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 ever. And I feel like I like it a lot more than I used to. So life is a lot more meaningful to me now than it was before, and I think that I'm a better person for it. I am happier inside my own boat as I'm driving, even if I'm driving by myself right now. I'm way happier with the idea of what's to come because I know that the steps are actually being taken now.